If you don't overcome this anxiety, if you don't overcome this fear, then it pretty much is going to cripple you. It will rob you of your time. It will rob you of your opportunity. It will rob you of everything that God has for you because it wants to just like keep you from moving forward. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. Thank you for being here. Today's episode, we want to dive a little bit into a subject that has crippled the nation multiple times over and for generations on top of generations. This is a subject that has kept people from being the people that God has called them to be. This is something that has kept people from doing what they were supposed to be doing, what they were called to do. This has been something that's been keeping people from really taking a chance and betting on God. And so we want to kind of break down fear, anxiety, worry, because it's a real thing. And I know we got a lot of tough guys who listen to this. And the reality is you're not fooling us. You're not fooling us. Fear, anxiety, worry is a real thing. I mean, it affects everybody. It's just how you deal with it that really determines your success in life, really. So
it takes me back to when I, growing up, and you guys know, I grew up in Chicago and grew up on the South Side. So there was situations where, I'll go back. I was probably about 11 years old. And me and my buddy was walking from, we was coming from another friend's house. It wasn't super late or nothing like that. So anyway, we get two guys roll up on us. They pull a gun out and take it, take our money. And the man who had the gun, of course, he was, playing games. Apparently, we didn't know it at the time. So my man, I remember him putting the gun to my head and clicking it off, right? So I thought I was gone. And fortunate enough, we saw a police car go by that was a block away, and it took the guy's attention, and we just broke off and ran. So I bring it up to I must say I've never been that afraid in my life, okay? And, but it showed me how fear can literally paralyze you. You know what I mean? People get in situations and they say, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D. But when you get in that situation, it's almost like you literally become frozen, in a situation. And after that, it made me confront my fear. And what I mean by that is I can't let that feeling paralyze me. I can never let it, stop me from moving. You know what I mean? Because I felt helpless. I ain't gonna lie. I felt I felt like I was in some sand or just my legs was just frozen.
Yeah, no, I think we all had some of those moments, just speaking for myself. And I think I shared with you brothers just, a couple weeks ago, I felt like the spirit of anxiety was trying to creep in. My wife and I, we were expecting our fourth son, and the whole pregnancy, I've been good. I've been locked in, focused on what I had to do. But right when it got down to that due date, it's all this flood of emotions and thoughts just kind of just rushed on me. And it was weird because I was, this is my fourth son, and I'm like, it's all good. We had a little bit of practice. But the thing is, man, that experience is so surreal and so humbling because it's so many things that really have to go right to make that happen. And, we often take it for granted, but it really puts you back in that state where you have no choice but to just be humble, man. And all you can do is pray, especially as a man, because, you're there as a support role mostly. It's not, she's really doing all the work. And, I had so much to do, and I'm just man, I'm praying about it. I'm like, hey, God, I know your timing is perfect. This baby gonna come when he's gonna come, but I really wouldn't mind if he comes next week after I get these few things, which I know sounds crazy, but, the God made it happen, though, for sure. And my wife actually sent me this verse in Philippians, and it was just talking about do not be anxious for anything. And it made me really just reflect on, you know what, that's really what faith is. If you can't be fearful and faithful in the same breath, it's like conflicting, entities. And the more that you really have faith, if you really have faith and God's going to do what he's supposed to do, and everything that happens, either he willed it or he allowed it to happen for a reason outside of our understanding, then it's very hard to stay in a fearful state. Like you said, Martell, we're going to have these times where we experience it and that spirit tries to infiltrate us, but it's a difference between, it coming in and us just staying in that state. And that's the part where I feel a lot of people, they get real damage done, is when they don't force themselves out of that state and go towards faith.
Last year, I was hit with a ginormous bill. So like student loans just came, they became due. But I was hit with a ginormous bill last year, and it was going to take more every single month than I had paid for anything. Like, not for somewhere to live, not for food, not for vacation, not for anything. And it was on top of everything else. That was the crazy thing. And so it kind of just puts you in like this state of like, I just did not know exactly what to do. I didn't know how it was going to happen. Like, if you asked me, I believed that everything was going to be all right. But the reality is, when it comes to like being anxious about something, or when it comes to, being or having a little bit of fear about something, there's no real, oh yeah, I'm fine. And then that gets rid of the emotions of it, because the emotions are real. And so in that state, when things would get, because for me, and you guys let me know how it was for you, but like it would go, well, Rodney, yours was really immediate. So maybe this is a little different, but like it would go in like these waves. Like there'd be a time where it was like high anxiety. Like it was like, it almost felt like if there was like some sort of creature literally just over me, trying to hold this thing over top of me and keep me from moving forward, keep me from thinking freely, keep me from speaking freely, just keep me from going. And it was like, just like you were saying, that kind of paralyzing feeling. But then I'd figure out some stuff to do. I have like a little routine, and then I'd get through it. But that didn't mean that it was gone forever, because it'd try to come back the next morning. For me, it would come back in the morning, like literally every morning. It would come around the same time, the same window of time, where it would try to stop everything. And so and then what I found out was that if you don't stop it, like if you don't overcome this anxiety, if you don't overcome this fear, then it pretty much is going to cripple you for the day. Like it will rob you. It will rob you of your time. It will rob you of your opportunity. It will rob you of everything that God has for you, because it wants to just like keep you from moving forward.
And it's, like you said, it's based off of real human emotions, right? You have to almost be an advisor to yourself outside of yourself. And we know that all of that is being led by God. And we really know and remind ourselves we're children of God. God loves us so much that's everything is usually going to be okay. Even if it's not okay, it is what it is. It's a reason for this we can't understand. But what we got to do is focus on the process and what we're going through, how we can get a lesson from it. Also, another thing is, so with this spirit of fear, this was put into us for a real reason. Way back in the day when we were living in wild elements with wild animals, you needed that fight or flight. Like, oh, that's a lion. I need to get out of here immediately. we're not living in that type of scenarios now. It's a lot less everyday danger than it used to be, but we still have the same emotions. And so I think that's another thing, is just kind of level setting what's real versus what's just in our mind.
Living with fear, literally, we all live with, we live with it. And I think, to your point, how do you respond to it? That fight or flight, fight or flight. And Martell, your example is a living example of fight or flight, because people will run away from, let's say, what you just brought up, that whole using student loans and just ignore it. Oh, I'm not going to do it or whatever. Versus fighting and saying, hey, look, you know what do I need to do to manage this, to change the situation? And well, I guess all our examples are the same way. It's like, hey, in my example, hey, flight was the answer. it was like, you know, hey, the guys was bigger than me. It was, hey, you have to evaluate at some point and deal with the fear that's in front of you and address it. You know what I mean? And I love the reference to faith, because you're right. Faith and fear cannot occupy the same space, and fear gives us an opportunity to tap into our faith.
That's when real faith comes in, to be honest. And this is very important that we talk about this, because a lot of people, they want to, hold the faith flag up, which is cool. But for some reason, since I was a young child, I've always noticed that, like, it's easy to say you have faith when everything's going cool. Because those same people, when something comes up, oh, this happened and that happened, I don't know what I'm going to do. The world is coming to an end. The sky is falling. I was like, hold on, brother. Where's that faith at? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, that's out the window, because I'm going through it. It was cool when I was telling you about having faith, but now that I'm going through it, no, all bets are off. And that's where we can't put our faith in people in the world, because people are like this, because we're emotional. That's the humanness in us. But when you go back to that word and you had a spirit of holy, which is holy, that's something that's unchanging. And that's, like you said, Martell, I've been through moments where literally every day it's like the same spirit was trying to attack me. Every morning, you're like, man, same time, it's a fight. And that's why, I kind of had that regimen where it's like, look, let's win the day. It starts by winning my morning. If I can win my morning and make it to lunchtime, all right, cool. Now I got to make it to dinner time. I got X, Y, Z. And that's where I just started focusing on the process, not the outcome, because sometimes the outcomes are too major and it can be overwhelming because we just focus on the outcome. But when you take little micro steps and you're little micro focus throughout the day, before you know it, the day is over. You're like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did that. Cool. Now you're feeling good about what happened versus if I don't do this big major thing, the day's a failure.
For anybody who is like in the middle of it, like the gun is to your head, or it is due, or the sky is literally falling. Yep. Like at that point in time, you don't have time to think about these lofty goals that you got. Like being able to sit down and really envision what you want your life to be like and write down your mission statement, your goals and your vision and make a plan for it. That can all happen in a state of comfort. When you have no other option, the back is against the wall, you about to get shot in the face if you don't do something right now. There is no other opportunity other than either you gonna freeze or you gonna do something. And I love that you just brought that up, because we got the faith cheerleaders in the church, man. I'm telling you, we got the the League of Extraordinary Wimps a lot of times, because it's like in reality, like it'll be interesting to me. It's always interesting to me to see the people who show up every Sunday, the people who will tell you all of the scriptures of the Bible, the people who can quote every single thing, tell you about the life story, his mom from the Bible, David did this, and actually his dream had to be about this because he woke up and X, Y, and Z happened. And it's like, cool, you a scholar, that's great. But when crisis strikes, when homie bosses up and your wife and your wife is sitting there, what you gonna do then? Like for real, because I'm telling you, you can have all the head knowledge you want, but if it ain't a part of you, like if you have not been trained in this, if you have not been through the experience to craft, to sharpen who you are, then the thing is, we all see who you really are when the crisis strikes, when reality hits. And it's like, for me, we talk about how, you know, there's a scripture about how a friend can be closer than a brother, and a friend is meant for that time of crisis, of that time of tragedy. And it's like, the thing is, I feel like I don't really know you until I know what you've gone through when you had no other option but to move. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, for real, talk about dating. We put up our what is it called? we put our persona, we put up our representative. We put up our representative because, oh yeah, no, I'm trying to impress this lady right here. We're gonna look good. I'm gonna get dressed up. We're gonna go to the place. It's gonna be good. But then homie comes and bumps your girl, and then he does not say excuse me, and he steps on her shoe, and you saw the whole thing happen. And you ain't do nothing. You a punk. I remember actually this recently. We went to Mexico. I will never forget this moment. And there was everybody was going cliff diving, right? And so, there was the people who were in our little crew. They jumped off the mountain and then went into the water, and it was really dope. It was really nice. There was a zip line, or you could just free jump. And so, everybody was first on the zip line, and then after the first dude free jumped, it was like, oh man, that's a possibility. Let's do it. And so people started to do it, but then there was this one couple where the guy and the lady, they both went up there. They was talking the whole way there about how oh man, I don't know if we should do this. I don't know if we should do this. And then she was like, yeah, we should do it. And then he was like, all right, man, we're going to do it. And so they got all the way up to the top of this mountain because neither of them hadn't gone together. But this was going to be the first time that they did not go with the zip line. And they were, as they were standing there at the top of the mountain, because I'm over at the bottom, my sister's right there next to them. But you can kind of hear, because everybody's just waiting for them to jump because they've done all this to get up here. And so they pretty much have a little conversation talking about, all right, on the count of 3, we're going to jump together. Okay. They counted down. All right, 3, 2, 1. They both ran forward. The lady jumped. Homie stayed on the top of the mountain. Homie stayed on the top of the mountain. I could not believe it. I was sitting there in shock. Like, and he was not joking. And this wasn't oh man, ha ha ha, I did this because you was blah blah blah. No. Man. Homie was afraid. I mean, he was paralyzed in fear. He was stuck on that count. When the timer got down to 1, we was all waiting for him to jump. He watched his girl go down. She turned around and looked at homie as she was falling down. Wow. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Man. And when she got
still together.
Me too. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
When she had gotten out of the water, all I'm thinking is, oh man, this is it. They done now. There ain't no more relationship after this. I don't know how long they booked this trip for.
Oh, that did some damage.
That had to do some damage, because I'm just sitting there thinking about man, if this was the first time that she got to see who he really is, I certainly hope she takes it to heart. Homie is a punk.
You know what though? It's as I'm listening to that, I love it, man, because to me, you need to know who's gonna fold up in those times. I would have, if I was in her position, I would have been up, looking up as I'm falling, smiling, because cool, now she should know exactly what to do. He's showing her who he is. And the thing is, it's not even from a judgmental place. You are who you are. What he could have did, he could have been honest and told her, look, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And this is why.
Yep.
And if you choose to do that, cool. But the fact that he said, no, we in this, man, people will let you down every chance they get.
Yeah.
I'm talking about for real. And I had to really learn that lesson for myself and not look at them and what they're doing. I had to start, because you will be disappointed left and right. And like going back to our conversation previously about family and friends, it'll be some of the closest people to you. Yeah. People that you never thought would crumble in this times of pressure. But what I had to realize is in times of pressure, we go back to our training. Yeah. How have we been trained? If we've never been trained to deal with our emotions, or we have a fight or flight moment and we always choose to just fly away and run, that's a part of your training. People are like, oh, well, I never really did any form. Yes, you did, because if you never really had a strategy, that is the strategy. Mm-hmm. We need to know that as teammates, as friends, as loved ones, because if a person will leave you literally on a cliff,
literally,
you have to believe it. She goes back to him after that and she continues her relationship. And I'm not saying she should or should not, but if she does, she should know exactly who she's dealing with, because he showed her, and she needs to believe it.
I played pickup football in the neighborhood and all that in different sports. But here's the thing. So you out there, you on defense, and you got this big cat coming at you who outweighs you with some force, and you got to tackle him. Okay. Yeah. Now, I've seen individuals play like they gonna tackle somebody. You follow me? You know what I mean? They and then you hear in the NFL a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, they made a business decision."
A business decision.
But it's really it come down to fear. Now they've been trained all that, but until that joker come at them, I mean, you look at my man in Tennessee, Derrick Henry. He a big boy. So they can talk tough all day long. You get that DB, Derrick Henry coming at them full force. Man, they don't want none of that. And you got to make your mind up. And then you got those who are fearless, who just they look, boom, I'm trusting everything I know, and I'm going at him. If he get through me, he get through me. So that's that mindset that I think as we talk about fear and faith is like, hey, look, I got to trust what I know and just deal with this issue.
If you were listening to the stories that we brought up in the beginning, the thing is, it's always there's something, there's a perceived outcome, there's a perceived result, there's a perceived negative event in the future that is not happening currently. Like, you might not physically be, like when the gun was up to your head, you hadn't gotten hurt, but you knew that you could be hurt. You see what I'm saying? And so it's that the thought of the negative event that is what the fear is, because in reality, fear is not real. Fear and danger are not the same thing. Fear and actual damage is not the same thing. If I get hit, it hurts. Okay. But if I'm thinking about getting hit, I have not been hurt yet. That's your opportunity. That is your opportunity to actually act. So how would you guys, what is your strategy? What is your game plan? What are the reps that you're actually getting to, one, overcome anxiety, stay away from or overcome fear, and to not worry?
My mind is like, okay, wait a minute. Doing nothing is not the answer. Okay. And my thing is like, okay, I need to just hit this head on. And they go back, and I learned so much when I wrestled as far as how to just deal with confrontation, deal with anything else. Is like, deal with it head on. Because the quicker I deal with it, the quicker it's going to be over and solved. Whether I lose or whether I win, but it's over. And it's like, because the more that anxiety, the more you think about it, the more you paralyze, it's not getting better. You know, and then when you talk about from a spiritual standpoint, it's like that faith. What am I putting my faith in? What am I trusting in? And I think about the Bible, man. It's like, one of the commands God gave the most to us was do not fear. If you look at the Bible, he says, do not fear throughout the whole Bible. Do not fear.
A lot.
Do not fear. So the way I deal with it, is just that. It's like, okay, what am I afraid of? And usually it's something inside me that's just scaring me more than something outside of it. You know what I'm saying?
Fear is a little bit of product of our imaginations, right? And we have amazing imaginations, especially in this day and time where you have so much information being forced upon you, from the news, media. Somebody got shot right out front of your door. Stay here to find out why. And you're like, whoa, what's going on? And you turn on social media, everybody, oh, I'm going through it, I'm doing it. You talk to your family, your friends. And so one thing is a lot of times what you think are your thoughts aren't even your thoughts. That is fear that was passed down from other people's perspective. So that's number one. Get real about what's real and what's just in your imagination. Because like you were saying, Martell and Rodney, a lot of times the thinking about what could happen is much worse than what actually does happen, because if something does happen, it's like, all right, cool, this happened. And then, all right, so I could do this might happen in that, or I could go this route. And then we have a couple things that could happen from that. But now you're actually dealing with real data, real information, and you're just making decisions versus just sitting back and being paralyzed in your thoughts. So going back to your question, Martell, first thing I would say is people have to consciously make a decision on how they want to approach their days. Me, I call it living by certain principles. Like from the time that I was young and even with my kids, my oldest son is 8. You ask any of my kids, what do you fear, son? Or what do you fear? Little guy, I fear God. Okay, what else do you fear? Nothing. They'll look you dead in your eyes and tell you nothing, because that's what I've programmed into them. Whether they fully know what that means now, probably not, but that's the programming that I want to pass down versus, oh, be careful when you go outside and, there's something in the air or you could trip and fall. And what if you bust your head? And listen, go have fun, get hurt. Okay, cool, we'll deal with it. My kids, oh, my arm, man, you all right. Throw some dirt on it. You good. Keep playing. So I would say the main tip I would give anyone listening is just be clear about what's real and what's a product of your imagination, because we have some amazing imaginations.
It's two parts. There's one, everything that you do before the situation comes, and then there's two, knowing what you have when it is actually there. Because the thing is, like, when it comes to these sort of, if for example, Rodney in that situation, if he had been training for what to do when someone puts a gun to your head for the last 5-10 years, and he knew exactly step by step how he could disarm the person, how he could defend himself, and how he could get out of the situation. Not saying that he still wouldn't have had that nervousness, that anxiety in the moment, but the fear of it and the paralyzedness probably couldn't have happened because he would have put himself in that situation so many times before. His training would have just kicked in at that point in time. And that's an important point to what you were saying, Mike. It's about the process. Like, what have you done? Like, how have you trained yourself? How have you been getting your reps in so that you are prepared for when that moment comes? Even if it's something that's like that might not happen. There's that's the worst case scenario. But how are you planning for it? Like, who are you at your base level? Because when the moment comes, when everybody gets to one and it's time to jump off of the cliff, you don't have the conscious logical thought. It's your subconscious at that point. It's just the reflex. Now, if you have not been putting in the reps, if you have not been at the practice, if you had not done the training, then your reps are lacking. And when that moment comes, all you're gonna have is what you've been working on. Did we just?
Yeah, I was about to say that you.
Wait a minute. So I'm just.
Yeah.
That's why having your morning prayer, having your daily prayer routine, having the word in you is so incredibly important, because the thing is, the Holy Spirit comes to teach you and to remind you. So if you've got the promises of God in your spirit already, you know that when that moment comes where you are in a moment of like uncertainty, you don't know exactly what to do, when you can fall back on that faith, then you can actually live by faith at that point in time. Then you'll know, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. I can recite these words. I can speak them out, and then I can be stronger in that moment, and I can move forward.
That right there, that verse is so powerful, because I'm telling you, when that was sent to me and I read it, I instantly felt more calm, cool, and collected, because it's like, if we're looking at it from a God's perspective, everything is already written. Okay. Everything's what are we really fearing? We can't change anything. You know, it is what it is. So it's outside of our control. So why not just enjoy this ride that we're on?
Worrying about a situation is not gonna necessarily make sure that the end game isn't the worst thing that could happen. It's not changing nothing. It's just making you feel a little bit more hot.
It's changed the way you feel. That's it. It's just changed the way you feel. It's not changing the outcome.
Fellas, you need to get around a bunch of dudes who are actually the ones who gonna stand up. Like, you really want to be if you're in a crew of fellas that when something happens, when you hear a gunshot in the air, they are completely abandoning you. They throwing their kid to somebody else. They saying, hey, look, honey, wife, fight him. I'm gonna go ahead and head out of here. You got to get around a crew who's going to actually stand up, who are actually going to have some integrity, who are actually going to be there when things get tough, because you don't want to be around a bunch of cowards when things get a little tense. I promise you that. I promise you don't want that. Men 2.0, absolutely amazing program, absolutely amazing organization. We meet up once a month on the second Saturday. It is something where you can find these individuals that are going to help sharpen you and give you a connection, give you a point of contact to someone who you can lean on when you are in an uncertain situation. Look, the fastest way to get rid of an insecurity is to know what to do. It is to have the spiritual backing and to have the knowledge and information on what to do if that scenario just so happens to happen. And so we are developing each other. We are learning the word. We are getting close to God, and we are building our relationships with our people that we are close to. We are building our careers. We are building, and you want to be a part of it. If you do, go ahead. Information is below. Click that link, and we definitely hope to see you in person. Come be a part of it. And with that, thank you for watching, everybody. And if you like this episode, then you're going to love this episode on your screen, and we'll see you there. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.